Owning a home is still the American dream, but it comes with plenty of emotional and financial challenges. Join real estate broker Ron Evans each week as he shares the latest industry and local real estate market news through interviews with other agents and industry professionals. If you're confused about today's real estate market or just want to understand the home buying and selling process, this show is for you. Here's your host, Ron Evans.
Hi, everybody, and welcome back. You have reached Real Estate 101 with Ron Evans, and I am Ron Evans. And I have been going through some series lately on financing and loans and different things on the buyer side. But there's something that's really big on the loan, and it's the appraisal of the home that is really something that the seller can help out with. Even though it's the bank and the buyer's paying for the appraisal, the seller and the home that's being purchased is what's being appraised. And the seller can have some control over if their home is going to appraise or not. It's one of the biggest sticking points that we still have in real estate is if someone's getting a loan and the home does not appraise. Now, we are just coming out of a market that was insanely hot for sellers, and people were way overpaying because that's what the market said to do. And when we first went into this market about a year and a half, 2 years ago, a lot of homes were not appraising at what they're selling for because it was taking off so fast. So we had what was called an appraisal gap on a lot of transactions. And I've got another video about appraisal gaps on my channel, so you should really check that out if you have any questions on that. But basically, with the appraisal gap, it meant that the home didn't appraise for what you were in contract for, in escrow for, and the buyer and the seller had to determine how they were going to close that gap. Because the market was so insanely hot for sellers weren't giving a give back on the appraisal if there was a gap, and buyers were having to come out of pocket if they wanted to stay in contract to bridge that appraisal. Now that we are kind of slowing down, interest rates are going up, we're kind of going back to more of on our way to a balanced market. It's still going to be a seller's market for a while because of inventory issues, but we are on our way to a balanced market. And it's going to be really, really, really important from here on out because demand has slowed with the interest rates going up, that sellers do what they can to help get their property to appraise at value, because there are going to be slightly fewer buyers out there and the competition is going to be a little bit less. A lot of sellers aren't going to be able to take advantage of homes not appraising and still staying in contract and the buyer willingly paying the appraisal gap. So today's video is all about my tips for a higher home appraisal. And this is everything the seller can do on their end to make sure, or try to make sure, they're not going to have any issues with appraisal. Here we go. The home appraisal determines how much you'll get for your home. You could ask for any price you want, but if your buyers need financing, it all depends on the appraised value. While you can't control the market value, the market value is how much other homes sell for, or basically what other people are paying for homes in your area, you can maximize your home's value with these helpful tips. Number one, increase your home's curb appeal. This is actually probably one of the easiest things to do because it's about the outside, the aesthetics. When the appraiser pulls up, when anybody pulls up, if they have a pleasing eye to your home, it automatically sets the mood for how everything's going to go. So your home's curb appeal is the first thing the appraiser sees. It develops their opinion of your home and may increase your home's value. If they see on the outside that you've taken care of your home, you've kept it clean, decluttered, they're going to have great expectations upon entering your home. So it just puts them in a great mindset. To increase your home's curb appeal, do typical maintenance tasks, including the following: cutting or mowing your lawn if you have one, planting and caring for flowers and bushes if you have them. If you have a bare lawn, try to put some color out there, really make it appealing. And clean the windows. I can't stress that enough. Dirty windows, first of all, buyers hate it, and it can impact how a buyer views your home. But once you get under contract, dirty windows are like the first thing anybody sees when they walk up to your home. Get them power washed. If you can't clean them yourself, it is huge, and it will save you so many headaches to get your windows clean. You may not believe that, but that's true. You may also need to do some maintenance, such as fixing damaged siding or missing shingles. All this stuff helps. And most homes could use a fresh coat of exterior paint. Now, maybe you just painted a year or two before, that's fine. Maybe look for some areas to touch up. If you had some cracks in the drywall or whatnot, get all that kind of stuff repaired. And look for little things like that if you got some peel marks and stuff. Also look at your eaves that go around your roof at the top. A lot of those are wood, and you can get a little bit of wood rot in there from either termites or pests, or just drying wood and it's peeling paint and whatnot, and take care of that as well. Now on the inside, deep clean and declutter your home. It is imperative. Even if you don't do anything else on this list, if you do these first two items, you are so far ahead of the game by fixing your curb appeal and maintenance on the outside, and deep cleaning and decluttering your home on the inside. These first two things alone put you far ahead of the competition with what they're doing with their homes. So even though cleaning a home doesn't affect its value greatly, it helps appraisers have a better view of your home and its worth. Get rid of anything that's in the way and take the time to clean even the nooks and crannies that get overlooked during your normal cleaning. When someone comes in, a buyer, or in this case, an appraiser, if they can look around and realize that they have a clear line of sight to measure, that there's open sight lines, that things look neat and orderly, they automatically have in their brain that you are the type of person that takes care of your home. There's probably not a lot of repairs that need to be done and things of that nature. Again, a lot of it is mindset at this point to being a better appraiser, or getting a higher appraisal and a better appraised value. Is a lot of it's mindset and how just someone sees your home. Now we're going to get into stuff that if you choose to do, it's optional and it could cost you a little bit of money, but working with your agent, you'll realize if there is a return on that investment and what it could mean for you. Make necessary repairs. If there is anything obviously wrong with your home, fix it. This includes things like patching holes in drywall, fixing hand railings, replacing and repairing damaged flooring, fixing leaking faucets, repairing damaged walls or ceilings from water damage. Look beyond eye level and make sure all areas of your home are well maintained and kept up. Now, I always go into my sellers and immediately tell them, before we get into this type of thing at this stage, the first thing I tell them flat out is, if you have anything that you know of is a material defect that is also a safety hazard, we got to get that fixed before we even put you on the market. And then we start working on these other types of repairs like we're talking about here. Things that just look like it could come across as like just, dated neglect and things of that nature that you just don't get around to. Again, it's mindset for the buyer, it's mindset for the appraiser when they see your home. If they don't find these things, they don't have anything negative in their mind as they start to assess the value of your home. Provide a list of all upgrades. No matter how big or how small the upgrade is, write it down, provide an approximate date and an approximate cost of that upgrade. This is huge. You never know which upgrades will affect your home's value, so provide the appraiser with an all-inclusive list of all upgrades you've made. Include even small things like a new dishwasher or minor bathroom upgrades like you changed out a toilet. Up to and including large renovations like, I added a room, I remodeled the kitchen, I replaced all the flooring. Provide the appraiser with receipts or contracts to prove the work. Now, you don't necessarily need to go that far. I always have my clients put everything on a spreadsheet. And here's the key. Not all appraisers will accept this type of information, but the fact that you and your agent have put it together and have it ready helps. It's usually, I come in contact with about 75% of the appraisers that when I want to hand them things, they will accept the list of upgrades, because it helps them determine things that they may have missed when they've walked through and taken pictures. Maybe they notice, there were new shutters Did the current seller put those in, or were those put in a long time ago and they're just in good condition? And if it's on your list, they can see that you did it and what the cost was. So always keep a list of upgrades. Again, the scope of work, approximate date, and cost. Put it on a spreadsheet, real simple. If you have the receipts and things, you can keep all that, but it's probably not going to be super necessary for most people. Now, here you go. Update your kitchen or bathrooms. Now, this is something that you really want to dig in with your agent ahead of time to determine if you want to do something like this and what the ROI is going to be. And why I say that is, if you look at your comparable sales, which we're going to talk about next, anything that's recently sold in your area, if a lot of them haven't had upgrades like a remodeled kitchen or bathroom, you may not necessarily need to go to that extent to have a good appraisal versus those comparables. Because you're more of a like for like, apples for apples type of a situation. Now, when you look at those comparables and you see that they priced out a little bit higher than you and they had an updated kitchen or an updated bathroom, that's when you want to consider that, and you want to see, okay, how much is it going to cost me to do some updates in those areas? And what's my delta? What am I really looking at with those comps for what I should expect on a return on that investment? If your home is selling at and is comping out at within $10,000 of a home that just had a remodeled kitchen, you may not need to remodel your kitchen. That's not, I don't think, in my opinion, enough of a delta to worry about, unless you're trying to really get higher than that. But again, talk to your agent, have that discussion, and figure that out ahead of time before you even list the home. Provide comparable sales. This is another thing that I do. So I always provide my list of upgrades that my seller has done to their home and a list of the comparable sales, because you want to make sure that the appraiser sees what you saw when you came up with the value of the home. You don't want to just be having the appraiser think that you pulled a number out of thin air, that you used hard facts. Here are the homes that I am using to compare this home's value to, Mr. Appraiser, and here's why. Ours has an updated kitchen. The ones that sold didn't have an updated kitchen, so I accounted for it with X amount of dollars. Ours didn't have an updated bathroom. Theirs did have an updated bathroom, so I accounted for it by deducting a certain amount of dollars. All that stuff goes into play when you provide the comps. A lot of times I find it that the appraisers usually try to pull 5 to 8 comps themselves. And I find that a lot of times when I show up with my list, they already have their list typically when they show up, right? Our lists don't match. They may have 3 out of the 5 that I have, or 3 out of the 8 that I have, and vice versa. And so they're glad to most of them will go over it with you and be like, okay, I don't have that one. Let me see why you picked that. And I'll look at theirs list and going, okay, I don't have that one. Why did you pick that one? I think it's out of the area, or it's too far away, or it's not the same model. A lot of different factors, but you can have a good discussion with your appraiser. Again, not all appraisers work this way. Some are very tight-lipped and don't say a word, but I find that most of them, good 70-75% of them, understand that you're just trying to prove the home's value, and they will work with you in that regard, at least listen and let you present your evidence of why you did what you did. So they don't just think you're some crazy person trying to inflate the value of your home as it is to the comparables. So there you go. The number 1 and number 2 things you definitely want to do: increase your home's curb appeals, take care of the outside, and deep clean and declutter your home. Those are the 2 necessities that you should be doing that shouldn't cost you a lot of money to do. Then you want to start looking at the necessary repairs. Again, just removing any negative thoughts from a buyer or the appraiser in this instance. Providing that list of upgrades if you have any. Consider updating your kitchen or bathrooms depending on what the comps tell you. And then also provide those comparable sales. If you can do these things and just show that, again, you and your agent didn't just pull a number out of thin air, that you put thought into it, there's care into the home's been taken care of, more often than not, you're going to get the price appraised that you're in escrow at. If you don't do these things and your home comes up short on the appraisal, well, you can look back at this list and be like, I wonder if I would have done any of these things that Ron just gave me tips to do, if that would have helped. Final thoughts, your appraisal is based on the recent sales prices of homes in the area, but that doesn't mean you can't increase it with some effort like we just talked about. The cleaner, more updated, and accessible your home is, the better picture the appraiser can get of your home. Provide the appraiser with as much detail as you can about your home, the changes you've made, or anything you know about the area as well. Keep in mind, the appraisal is the appraiser's and the bank's opinion of value for that day, that moment in time for your transaction. If something happens and this transaction falls out of escrow and it takes you a while to get back into escrow, chances are you're going to need another appraisal by whoever the new bank is, because they're not going to look at one that's a month old, 2 months old. The market's just too volatile for that right now. So you may have one that falls out of escrow, unfortunately, and then you've got time to say, okay, cool, now I can go back through this list, check off things on this list again, so that the next time you go back into escrow, if there is a new appraisal, hopefully you won't have the same issues. I hope all that helps. Please, please, please like this video, like this podcast episode if you're listening on the podcast. Please follow me, subscribe, so you stay up to date with all of my updates. I provide content usually about 4 to 8 times a month. I try to record quite a bit of content. You can see the history of everything. And I try to keep it pretty relevant with what's going on today. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them below and I will get back to you. You can also send me an email at realestate101@ronevansrealty.com or shoot me a text message 949-929-2270. We'll see you again on the next episode.